Channel 1 Yuma Productions presents The Heroes of Yuma County. All persons are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Viewer discretion is advised. This month, a special Heroes of Yuma County, Somerton, Arizona.
Good morning, Richard.
Morning, Judge.
How you doing today?
Very good. How about yourself?
Real good. Good morning. Are we ready for court today?
Yes.
We would now like to introduce to you Judge Manuel Figueroa as he explains his role as a judge in Yuma County and takes us into the courtroom to show us the day-to-day operations.
Well, my name is Manuel Figueroa, or Manuel Figueroa, or my friends and colleagues call me Manny Figueroa. I've been a judge for almost 25 years now. I started my career as a judge in the city of San Luis and then became a justice of the peace here in Somerton. Also a municipal court judge in Somerton now for about 15 years, I believe. I was born in Yuma, raised here in Somerton. I guess I'm the proudest that my parents, particularly my father, was an immigrant into this country, a legal immigrant, and we were migrant workers. We were a migrant family. We followed the crops when they were here in Yuma, and then followed them up to Salinas, California, and Gilroy, and King City, and Soledad, and that area that John Steinbeck wrote about a lot. And so I'm proud that we were one of those families that came up through the lower echelons, if you will, of this community. I'm now retired from the Yuma Justice Court, or the Justice Court system in Arizona, and I am fully employed by the city of Somerton as their magistrate, as their municipal court judge. It's a smaller court, a low volume court, a rural court, and it gives me the opportunity to pay more attention to the individual cases that come before me. It also allows me time to do other things. For example, work at the Yuma Justice Court as a pro tem, take on some other cases, and help them out when they have a judge that's missing. It also gives me an opportunity to actively participate in other activities, for example, nonprofit organizations. I'm the president of a nonprofit, it's called Sunset Community Health Center. I'm the president of the board. I also sit on the board for Housing America, which of course we build self-help homes for low-income individuals. So it gives me an opportunity to start giving back, if you will, to the community where I was raised for very many years. Things have drastically changed in the last 20 to 25 years when it comes to the court system. My number one concern, if you will, in reference to the change has been some form of disrespect now that the younger generation have towards not just the courts, but authorities in general, whether it be the police departments, law enforcement, the courts, or even the attorneys. Back in the 80s when I got started, they respected the office. Perhaps they didn't respect the individual, whether it's the individual police officer, or the individual judge, or the attorney, but they respected the individual, the defendants that appeared in my courts, respected the office. And nowadays, it seems to be eroding. Especially in the last 10 years, that seems to be eroding. The younger generation that I get, the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds that I get in court, are less respectful, not just of the office, but of the person, and even amongst themselves, there's a less of a respect amongst themselves in their little world. I think that comes from parenting. I hate to say that because I'm sure I could go on the internet and list some studies, but just from the heart, I would have to say it comes from parenting. You know, they've raised an individual for 18, 19 years, and obviously something hasn't gone right. And then they come into court and they come in with their child, and then they want me to solve all their problems. Everything that has been learned by them for the last 18, 19 years, in one court appearance, they want the judge or the counselor or the probation officer to fix all those problems, and it's impossible. It's impossible to do that. Doesn't stop us from trying, doesn't stop us from trying to do our job and try to get them to reform. How they talk to me, how they speak to me, how they address to me in court sometimes it's a big difference in how it used to be back in the 80s and in the early 90s. People always ask me, what's the best thing about your job? What's the worst thing about my job? I mean, it's actually what happens in court, the cases that happen in court. We have funny cases, we have interesting cases. In reference to difficult cases, the number one case that sticks on my mind, there's a few, but the number one case is because it was personal to me. An individual, a well-liked individual in town, a teacher, maybe 15 years ago, was arrested and charged for child molestation. And it happened that, of course, it occurred here in Somerton. So I, as a justice of the peace, conducted the preliminary hearing for that individual. And we had the witnesses come in, the two young boys, I think they were aged maybe 11 and 12, testify against the teacher about the molestation. In that particular hearing, I had to decide whether his charges of child molestation would continue up in Superior Court. The evidence led me to believe that there was enough probable cause, enough evidence, if you will, to proceed. He was taken into custody. He was being held initially on a high bond, and he posted that bond. And the day that he posted that bond, he came to my courtroom facility, which at that time we had no security. Not that we have a lot now, but even less security. Open walls, no bulletproof glass. And he essentially wanted to speak to me. I didn't want to speak to him, but he essentially threatened me at that time. He said that I was going to pay for my decision to continue on with the case and to set a high bond. So I took it as a physical threat against me and my staff. I reported that. That was on a Friday. On a Monday, when I came into the office, I had a little note that was slipped under our front door, and he again kind of indicated that I had made a wrong decision, but that God would eventually deal with me, that where he was going, God was going to be there, and he was going to render him, if you will, innocent of any charges. I took it almost as a suicide note, so I called the police department immediately, and they had received the same note. They got concerned. They went to this individual's residence, and they had committed suicide. It was a murder-suicide. Apparently, he shot his wife, and then he shot himself and took their own lives at that time. So that's a case that really sticks to me because it was personal. I was involved. I was the judge. I received that note from him, handwritten note, and my instinct was that there was something wrong with him, and obviously it went that far. It can be a very stressful job, obviously, not just with cases, but with the finances, with the budgeting, with personnel. So it's not just one aspect of this job that can be stressful. There's a variety of other things that a judge does. Most people don't understand that, or perhaps they don't really think about it. They think about sitting on the bench, but we are the managers of this system, so it is stressful. When I was in high school, I ran track and I ran cross country. Obviously, when I was in college, I let that go for a while. And when I took on a job as a justice of the peace, it was stressful, and I needed a way to release that stress. And of course, I went back to what I knew. I went back to running. I've never been a weightlifter or someone that boxes or does anything. Running was my event, if you will, and that's what I love to do. I run long distances, not just short 1 or 2 miles. I like to go out there and run 8, 9, 10 miles at a time. I love it. I've always loved it, and I think I will love it for the rest of my life. It's something I've done. I ran several marathons. I'm proud to say that my friends and I have ran well, I've run 30 marathons. I've started 31 marathons. Only one marathon I didn't finish, but I've completed 30 marathons. But my proudest moment was when I qualified to run the Boston Marathon, and I did that 5 times. I run New York City Marathon. I've run the Tucson Marathon, the LA Marathon, San Diego, all over the place. And something I love to do. It's not for money. It's not to win trophies or win medals. It's because it's something that's inside me that says that I want to do that. I run almost every day. I average right now 60 miles a week. Oftentimes when we're training for marathons, we'll run from Yuma to San Luis, which from where we start, it's about 18.8 miles. My second favorite thing to do is hunt. I love hunting. I love hunting with my friends and family members. I've hunted for several years now. My biggest accomplishment, other than individual accomplishment, other than running a marathon, is shooting my bighorn desert sheep. I'm not sure if people out there are familiar with desert bighorn, but here in Arizona, and most other states, you can only shoot one desert bighorn or one bighorn in your lifetime. So if you happen to get drawn, if you are lucky enough to get drawn, it was just down to 2 of us, and I saw this beautiful bighorn sitting on a cliff looking at me, and he got up, and I decided that I wanted to get closer, and I had to climb a cliff. It took me about 20 minutes. He ran off. I made a call, and I was able to take a shot, and I shot my desert bighorn. It's one of the proudest moments that I've had, individual moments as well. Yeah, I think it's important that we have an individual in this type of position as a judge that knows the community, not just someone who happens to be from Arizona or happens to be from Yuma, but someone who knows the community. I grew up in Somerton, Yuma. I grew up with the migrant farm workers, and I know their ins and outs. I know their requirements. I know what time they get up. I know what time they go to sleep. I know how hard it is to be out in the fields, how hot, how cold, etc. So it's an understanding of the culture that's important, as opposed to bringing in someone from say Scottsdale and then having them be a judge in Somerton. It just wouldn't work. I don't think it would work. And it's something that I think it's very important that people need to know, that it's good to have local judges who know the community, know their people, and they're willing to mingle with the people outside the office.
Basically what happened here is the driver of the black vehicle was heading eastbound County 15th Street, and he lost control of his vehicle on the curve, and he ended up coming to the other driver's lane, which caused the accident. It was a front to side accident. That's basically what caused the accident. We have injuries. 2 people were transported to the hospital, and so right now that's all we have. The sheriff's office is going to take over right now. It's their jurisdiction, so they are going to be in charge of the accident. He couldn't control his vehicle making a turn, so he accidentally hit the wall. Yeah, she was not home at the time of the accident. She was at work. We had to call her and let her know that this occurred at her residence. It was not a speed-related accident. He failed to control his vehicle. That's basically what occurred. Driver requests he can't get her out of there, so we need somebody to get her out of there as soon as possible. Sounds good. I'm gonna move my profile. All right.
Hello, my name is B.B. Cotman, and I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Somerton, Arizona Police Department. But prior to becoming chief here, roughly about 17 years before becoming chief, I was second in command here at the City of Somerton Police Department.
Very safe place to live. Actually, for an example, some of the stats I have from January this month: possession of drug paraphernalia. There was no cases, and no arsons, no murders, no sexual assaults or slash rapes, no robberies. Assault slash aggravated assault, there was 2. There's 14 burglaries that occurred. Child molestations, 1. And all other crimes, 22. So a total of violent and non-violent crimes mixed together was only 69.
I'm Officer Gaitan with Somerton Police Department. I've been with Somerton Police with about 18, 19 months already. I've been a peace officer since 2010. I went to the police academy here in Yuma. And I'm grateful to work with Somerton Police. It's a great department to work with. And I enjoy it. It's every day a new thing happens, so I'm glad to work for Somerton Police.
What happened? I get a call to a suspicious vehicle at the golf course. I guess some subjects were trying to open vehicle doors. I'm ATLing the area, and then I see this car, I run the plate, it comes back stolen. And I seen it, and then when I get here, like, no driver.
Only 2 days later, the suspect was arrested by the Somerton Police.
When I heard the beep, I turned and then it was right on the wheel.
The truck hit a tractor right in the front. There's some dent in the steering wheel. And the tractor driver seems fine. Just we took the patient just emergency traffic for the damage, severe damage on the truck, and we'll see how it goes afterwards.
Raúl Martínez.
Raúl Martínez.
No, pues vengo a la corte a ver a mi hijo que ahorita tiene corte a las 9:30 de la mañana.
I came to court to see my son, who is going to be appearing in court at 9 in the morning. ¿Cómo fue que pasó que terminó que tiene que venir al tribunal o que está detenido y eso?
Porque quiero ver a él. Él tuvo problemas con nosotros con violencia doméstica y queremos saber la resolución del juez, qué es lo que va a pasar con él, si lo va a detener o lo va a soltar.
He had problems with us related to drugs and domestic violence. But I want to see what resolution the judge is going to give to the case.
Y ahora entró a los 18 años y es cuando ya agarró las consecuencias de un adulto y tiene que pagar lo que hizo.
And then now he turned 18, so he became an adult and he now has to face the consequences of whatever it was he did. Ahora, ¿qué espera que ocurra hoy o qué le gustaría a usted que pasara hoy? ¿Que le liberen o qué?
A mí me gustaría que el juez lo soltara y le diera un programa de rehabilitación sobre las drogas y que considerara aquí los papeles que me dio él, que no puedo tener contacto con él, que esa resolución que me dé permiso de hablar con él porque él no puede estar en las calles.
Okay. I would like for the judge to release him and put him on a drug rehab program. And then I would like for him to reconsider the order that he issued last time when he banned any contact between my son and I. Because I mean, I don't want to see him out in the streets. I want to be able to be in touch with him.
Good morning. Please have a seat. Thank you. Now, on all the charges that we have in front of us this morning, they're misdemeanors in nature. If you plead guilty to a Class 1 misdemeanor, the maximum sentence that a judge can impose in Arizona is the following. A judge can impose as much as 180 days of jail time. That's 6 months of jail time. And the judge can impose a fine of up to $4,662.90, give or take a little bit depending on the surcharges. That's the maximum possible consequence of a conviction of a Class 1 misdemeanor. Now, mandatory minimum, most cases don't carry mandatory minimum sentences, which means that the judge can impose as little as he wants. He can suspend the fine, suspend jail sentence, and place you on probation. Some cases do carry mandatory minimum. For example, domestic violence cases. If you're charged with a domestic violence case, the mandatory minimum is that a judge impose no less than 6 months of probation, usually unsupervised. And if it's domestic violence, if the judge suspends the jail sentence, suspends the fine, the judge has to impose that you complete successfully a domestic violence program, at least 26 hours of a domestic violence program. Mr. Martinez, you're charged with disorderly conduct. Do you have any questions in reference to your rights, the possible consequences against you, or the options you have today? So I just want to make sure. So if you plead guilty today, or if you plead no contest, you will be receiving probation. But there's a possibility that you will be receiving jail time as well. So I guess what I'm telling you, Mr. Martinez, that if you feel uncomfortable making this decision, your best bet would be to plead not guilty and have an opportunity to speak to an attorney, a lawyer. You have to enter a plea today, and you have 3 options. You can plead guilty, you can plead not guilty, or you can plead no contest. So I'm going to ask you to enter a plea at this time, Mr. Martinez, to the charge of disorderly conduct pursuant to 1329-04A1, a misdemeanor. How do you wish to plead? Do you wish to plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest? I explained those to you earlier. Did you understand them? No? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf. I don't feel comfortable allowing you to proceed because I don't feel that you understand what's going on. I'll be honest with you. Okay? So I feel that you need some advice, some legal advice. So I'm going to go ahead on my own accord, enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, that you're not guilty at this time, and set this matter for pre-trial conference and appoint a public defender to represent you. Is the victim in court? A couple of days ago when we came to court, you asked the court to not allow him to have contact with you.
Yo le quiero decir al señor juez que
I want to say to tell the judge
mi hijo tiene muchos problemas de drogas.
that my son has a lot of problems with drugs.
With drugs?
Sí, con,
Yes,
con meth.
with meth.
Meth?
Sí, y esa es la causa de todo el problema que ha habido la violencia en la casa.
Of all the problems of violence at home.
You are not to be in any contact with your father, the alleged victim in this matter, or his property?
I have one question.
Go ahead.
I was just letting them tell my dad. So let my dad know I love him.
You want to tell your dad that you love him?
And I'm sorry for all I did.
And that you're sorry for what you did?
And I will never treat him again like that.
And that you're never going to treat him that way. All this is being translated for your father, okay?
And then to tell my mom that I love her.
To tell your mom that you love her.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Martinez. I need to ask you a couple of questions, though. Are you doing this out of your own free will?
Sí.
Yes.
He didn't threaten you? Anybody threaten you to come to me and ask me to remove this?
No, de ninguna manera.
No, by no means.
Okay, so you just don't want if he's released from jail, you don't want him roaming the streets.
Exactamente.
Exactly.
Oh, one more question. Do you have a program where, did you look for a program for him?
Sí.
Yes.
You do? What's that?
Sí, sí sé dónde es.
Yes, I know where it is, and
Si gusta puede decirle el nombre del
if you would
lugar.
like, I can tell you.
Yes, please.
Esa se llama CA y hay psiquiatras y hay ayuda a la gente que tiene problemas con drogas y le dan
The name of the
terapias.
place is CA, and they have psychiatrists, and they help people with drug problems.
Yeah, CIA?
Sí.
So, yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, Mr. Martinez, this is what I'm going to do with your case. I'm going to go ahead and enter a plea of not guilty on your behalf, at least temporarily. I'm going to appoint you qualified because of a lack of financial support. You qualify for a public defender. The bond I'm going to reduce from $4,662.90, which was a cash bond only. I'm going to reduce that to $1,963.65, and that can be a secured bond. A secured bond meaning you can come up with 10% of that amount and then be released on that using the services of a bail bondsman. Understood? Okay, so in other words, it's easier. I'm also, at the request of the alleged victim, I'm going to go ahead and remove the no contact order, meaning that if you do post bond, if you are released from jail pending your trial date, that you can have contact with your father or your family.
You just freestyle, go from like rhythm to rhythm and stuff.
I've been in the fire service since 1981 as a volunteer. I became the fire chief for the Somerton Volunteer Fire Department at that time, 3 years later, and I continue to be the captain of the department, assuming the role as chief later. We built a paid department starting basically in April of 1985 and continued to add personnel, and it evolved through. Later on, the city entered into an intergovernmental agreement with the Cocopah tribe, and as a result, the two are able to have a complete department. Whereas if it were just for the city, we don't have the financial resources to have the department that we have, and likewise with the tribe. And so I've been in the fire service a total of some 21 years now.
We're required to do an hour of physical training every day, and then an hour of training, something firefighter related. Something to do with the fire side of it. We study stuff online, or we train on medical things. Every once in a while, Jim will say, "Okay, we're going to have a mass trauma code, or we're going to have a mass code," and so we get all the gear and we act like somebody's actually.
So, what time of day is the most difficult to get up and go?
3:15 in the morning. Exactly.
Yeah.
No, anytime early in the morning is hard. If you've had a long day, if you had like 4 or 5 calls in a row and you just get to sleep and you get woken up and then you run out the door and you just fall asleep again and you get back and then you get woken up again about 3 or 4 in the morning.
What the Somerton Cocopah Fire Department does for its citizens each and every day.
The court calls Daniel Isaac Gutierrez.
Yes.
Is your name Daniel Isaac Gutierrez?
Yes.
You're charged this morning with 2 different crimes allegedly occurring on 2/6/2014. The first one is disorderly conduct pursuant to 132904A1, misdemeanor, class 1, and threats and or intimidation pursuant to 131202A1, again a misdemeanor. These are classified or designated as domestic violence cases. This is your initial appearance. At this time, we're not here to decide whether you're guilty or not guilty. We do have the victim or alleged victim in court. What is your name, ma'am? Did you understand the rights that I explained to you earlier, the victim's rights? I have to decide today how to proceed with Mr. Gutierrez's case. How are you related? He used to be your boyfriend? How long ago did you break up? How long were you his girlfriend?
2 years.
2 years? Okay, do you have children together?
One boy.
One boy, how old is he?
He's a year and 3 months.
Okay. Did you file for an order of protection?
Solicitó una orden de protección. Yes.
To say, or is there anything else?
También que se lleva las cosas de la casa.
Also that he takes away things from the house and he doesn't want to bring them back.
Like what kind of things?
Como un juego que le regaló a mi hijo en Navidad.
Like a game that he gave my son for Christmas.
Él lo compró, pero se lo regaló a él y no, y el niño todo el tiempo me pregunta por él y no se lo quiere dar.
The boy always asks me about it and he doesn't want to give it back to me.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Irrigate?
Yes.
The victim is in court and she indicates, I don't know if you were able to hear this, that since you guys broke up a couple of weeks ago, that you've been going over, harassing her, knocking on her door, calling her profanity, using profanity, that you took back or stole a gift that you had bought for your son and you not want to return it, and that he's been crying for that gift. Those are some of the comments that she made. Now, let me ask you a question. In your opinion, are you still her boyfriend, or are you guys broken up?
I mean, for the past week,
I'm asking you a simple question, yes or no. In your opinion, are you still boyfriend, girlfriend, or not? Yes or no?
No.
Thank you. So, get that through your head that if she doesn't want to be your girlfriend, she's not your girlfriend. Understood? If you, just listen. Listen to me, okay? It's going to save you a lot of heartache. If you guys are not boyfriend, girlfriend, and she doesn't want to bother you, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. I'll give you an opportunity to speak. If you guys are not going around and she's not your girlfriend anymore, then she has a right to say no to you. She has a right to say, stay out of my life, stay out of my house, etc. You have a child in common. If you want to visit, there's a proper and legal way to do that. You have to go file for paternity, make sure that you're the husband, the father, and for visitation, you do that through Superior Court. You just can't go to the house and knock and say, I want the baby. There's procedures you have to do because you're not married. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just worrying you because you tend to get, I say you, people tend to get in trouble by saying, I have a child and I can do anything I want, I can go with her anytime I want. That's not legally true. Okay? So, the allegations against you are disorderly conduct and threatening. These are allegations. They haven't been proven. I want to be able to see you on Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. I'm going to have the Somerton Police Department transport you over to the Somerton Court so I can address these issues with you in person. If you have property in her premises that you need to pick up, you have to come through the court to pick that up. Is that understood, sir?
Yes, sir. She even bought me a beer and we were drinking outside the house with her cousin there.
Mr. Gutierrez, let me stop you there. On Tuesday, when you are transported down, you'll be given an opportunity to tell me whatever you want to tell me. Okay? I can't sit today and decide whether you're guilty or not. This is not the proper procedure. This is an arraignment. I can't take your plea by video. You have to be in front of me. So there's certain procedures that we have to follow. I'm just trying to follow the procedures. We'll see you on Tuesday at approximately 9:30 a.m. and you'll be able to discourse whatever you want to discourse to me at that time. The victim has a right to be here. If she doesn't come, if she doesn't appear in court, then you'll be able to give me your version without her being present. It's up to her. In the meantime, I'm going to fax over to your location the conditions of release and the bond. If you do post bond, you have to walk in at 9:30 on your own. We'll see you on Tuesday. The officer that's there with you will have you sign the document. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is he going to be released? Come out of jail?
Okay, I'm not sure if she was listening or not, but the bond is set at $4,662.90, cash bond. If he posts a bond, he'll be released. Keep in mind that he's not accused of murder. I mean, he's not going to stay in jail for the rest of his life for what he's alleged to have done. Now, it's a lot of your responsibility too to report this. You're the victim, but you have certain obligations as well. You cannot be buying him beer, inviting him over, and then act like everything's okay. You understand that? So on Tuesday, you have a right to come back at 9:30, and then I'll have both of you in front of me. Okay? In the meantime, if he posts bond, and he gets released, and he bothers you, dial 911, and you'll get arrested again. I read your petition. I also noticed that you signed this petition saying that you are being truthful under perjury of law. That's good. Now, I read your petition. Tell the court in your words why you think you need this order.
Because I don't want him to be bothering me. My children get scared and they cry every time he comes in.
How many children do you have?
Tres.
Three.
But only one with him? Okay.
Yes.
I'm going to grant the order of protection that's going to order Mr. Gutierrez to stay away from you. He's already been ordered by the court in the criminal case, but that's only valid until the case is done. This will be valid for 1 year. Now, I foresee complications in this case because you have a child in common. And he's the natural father. He's going to have rights to see the child. Unless he's being abusive with the child and you can prove that, then that's a whole different matter. But as of right now, he has rights to see the child. I would recommend to you that sooner or later that you go to Superior Court and establish the fact that he's the natural father of your child and that you want the court to establish formal visitation rights. Because what I see in a lot of these cases is that gentlemen will just show up at your house any day of the week, any hour, knock on your door, and say, I want to see my children or my child. And it doesn't work, I mean, it shouldn't work that way. Okay? So you have to go to the court and get established visitation rights.
He doesn't come and knock to see his son.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is he's going to use that to be able to go over there. Okay? If you let this ride, if you let this go, he already knows that you don't want to be his girlfriend, so he's going to use the other excuse. What's the other excuse? That you have a child with him. Believe me, I've been a judge for over 25 years. I can tell what's going to come. Okay? So you just can't let this go. You have to do that, okay? So this is good for 12 months. He cannot contact you in person, electronically, by third party, without the permission of the court. He can't go near your home. He can't contact you anywhere. If he does, and it's an emergency, dial 911. If he sends you a text or a message by Facebook or email, well, contact the police department and they'll investigate. Do not delete it from your phone or the email. Understood? And being the natural parent of a child is something very important. And we just can't tell him, you have no right to see your child anymore because of allegations. You have to prove them. So that's where you get your evidence. You get your witnesses. And then you go to Superior Court and prove it to a judge in Superior Court that he's not a fit father to see your child. Because he could come to court and make the same allegations. He could say right now, she drinks, she does drugs, etc. And how would I know? But that's why we don't make those decisions just on comments. Okay? So we're going to grant this. You have a right to come in on Tuesday at 9:30. I would advise you to do that. Okay, then Richard, here's the order of protection. You know what to do with that. Thank you for your appearance in court. Thank you, ma'am. Charges pending against you for disorderly conduct, making threats and or intimidation, pursuant to 13-1202A1. Both of those are Class 1 misdemeanors, and they are charged as domestic violence. Now, domestic violence, just to refresh your memory, maximum sentence up to 180 days jail, $4,662 in fines. You already know that. Mandatory minimum, if you plead guilty today, if you plead no contest today, or if you're found guilty, the minimum sentence that a judge can impose will be a mandatory minimum of 12 months of unsupervised probation, and that you complete successfully a domestic violence program. That's 26 hours minimum of a domestic violence program. Normally, that's what I do on a first offense, like in your case. Okay, but that's your decision to make. Do you have any questions, sir? No? Okay. How do you wish to plead to the charge? Go ahead and stand up. Mr. Daniel Gutierrez, how do you wish to plead to the charge of disorderly conduct? Do you wish to plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest? Not guilty. The court's then going to enter a plea of not guilty on both charges against you. And Mr. Gutierrez, are you going to retain your own attorney? Are you going to represent yourself? Or do you think you qualify for public defender? I'm going to retain my own attorney. You're going to retain your own attorney? Do you know who that attorney will be? Okay, have you spoken to an attorney? No? Okay, go ahead and have a seat. Thank you. So you've entered a plea of not guilty on both counts of disorderly conduct, or both counts, disorderly conduct and threatening and intimidating. You don't know yet who your attorney will be, is that correct? Okay, let's set this for a pretrial conference. Today is February 11th. We're going to give you a little bit extra time since you'll be contacting an attorney. So the bond will continue to be held by the court pending your appearances in court. Okay. Once this case is terminated, then the bond is released back to whoever paid it. Ma'am, can you please stand up? In reference to business in court, like the conditions of release, do you have anything to say about that? A judge can't force parents to be good parents. There's no book, there's no law that says I'm ordering you to be a good parent. Common sense. Obviously, you can't abuse children, you can't abuse anybody for that matter, etc. But there's a lot more to being a good parent than obeying the strict letter of the law. I think you understand what I'm saying, right? Okay. Any questions, sir? In reference to visiting your children or your child, if the child is not in the order, then you can visit that child. How you make arrangements? Well, both of you are adults, right? I'm assuming. So common sense. If you cannot visit the home, you cannot contact her, then common sense would say, well, let me get a third party involved, a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, someone who can peacefully call your ex-spouse or your spouse and say, I want to visit my children or our children, and give me a chance, and then make an arrangement to do that. Now, you can make your life miserable by and I'm addressing both of you, you can make your life miserable by saying, no, I'm not going to lend him the child. No, it has to be this place. No, it has to be that time. And if you want to do that, that's your business. Now, if you want to play games with each other, if you want to make it hard for him to see the child, if you want to say, no, you can't see him at this time, no, I can't see him Sunday, he works, I mean, you're going to do that. And you know what? The court's not going to want to get involved because we don't get involved with playing games. Okay, any other questions? Okay, that is it. Thank you, sir. The most important aspect of this particular case and these type of cases are the children, or is the child in this case. Not whether or not he's been a good father, or not whether or not she's been a good mother, but whether or not the child's been treated as the child should be treated. And if you recall, and I give this little speech often, that the court can't force an individual to be a good parent. And yes, there's laws that are applicable in reference to making sure that a parent does not put a child in danger. But then there's 99% of the other things that parents do that aren't in a book of this nature. You're either a good parent or you're not. Regarding the alleged victim, the mother in this case, yeah, she can cause the defendant a miserable time by establishing all kinds of barriers between him and the children or the child. But then again, that's something we can't control in court. Hopefully they won't end up back in court and they can resolve their problem outside of court. And once they come into court, we can get them the counseling they need, and then again, the child will be able to see both parents.
My name is Arturo Manuel Garcia. I'm a certified court interpreter. Many people think that an interpreter is a walking encyclopedia, and that's not the case. We were doing a murder trial, talking about different crops that he worked at, and he went from one to the other, and then he came to celery, in Spanish apio. When he said apio, I just blanked out. I totally lost it. I couldn't remember what the word in English was. I mean, you know. And so I said to the judge, Your Honor, I mean, I'm sorry if the interpreter is not coming up with the word, but it's the green things that you put in Bloody Marys. It might sound funny sometimes, but you know, it is a very demanding situation because your words can carry the difference between justice and injustice sometimes. I mean, there's no question about it. So you have to be very careful how to.
In reference to the language situation, up until recently, within the last year or so, unofficially judges were allowed to, if a defendant or a client in court wanted to speak Spanish, we would speak Spanish, especially courts of non-record, not Superior Court. And of course, I'm being fluent Spanish verbally and of course in writing, I didn't have a problem with that. But nowadays, because of a federal lawsuit that limits us from doing that, so we have to provide an official licensed, if you will, interpreter, because judges, they told us, and court personnel are not licensed interpreters, and we don't know if we're really interpreting the way it should be. They don't allow us to do that. So even though I speak 100% Spanish, I understand it, I'm not allowed to address anyone in Spanish in court, and that's right. I mean, I understand that. So we have to hire an interpreter, and that's how it goes. But what's kind of, I hate to use the word weird, but what's weird about it is that I've had several of these defendants, victims in court before, and I spoke to them in years past in Spanish, perfect Spanish, and now all of a sudden I act like I don't, and they're wondering like, what happened to the judge? Now he doesn't understand Spanish? So it's not that, it's the fact that we're required to use an interpreter.
You got any gloves in your car?
Yes.
Nice warm, humid day, 104 degrees. Good thing we did this now before it gets to 108, huh? You got gloves? Mm-hmm. No, for you. I won't need them. You will. Pull it out here and lift up. There you go. Okay. And so, see, since he slowed down to 25, the one 6 months ago was only considered the speed alert 15. It doesn't do messaging. It does the speed, it does the photograph, the strobe, all that stuff, but you can't put any messages on it or personal messages. This one's considered the speed alert 18, and it allows the messaging capabilities.
Do me a favor, don't put your hands in your pocket, okay? Because I don't know if you got any weapons, you know what I mean? My safety, your safety. Is that good? So do you have any weapons on you or anything? Okay, I'm just going to pat you down, okay?
But why?
I'm just going to pat you down, okay? It's just my safety, yours, dude.
Nah, you don't have to pat me down.
Do you have any weapons? Now you're telling me that you got weapons. Just relax, okay? You got anything else on you? Whoa, this?
No.
No? Okay.
I have priors, yes.
But you have it on you.
I know because I took self-defense here.
Oh, okay.
I took responsibility for it.
Okay, let's go over here.
I'll be transporting the 1015.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say will be used against you in the court of law.
You know, I grew up here in Somerton, so most of the people here I went to school with. So when I started working here, you know, I would respond to calls, and sure enough, one of my, you know, friends back in high school. And of course, they're always asking you, please, like, you know, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to be in trouble. Come on, I was your friend. And, you know, I have to explain to them that was, you know, back in high school, I'm doing my job. I have to do my job. Two couples fighting. So, you know, I'm working that night, I remember, and sure enough, they gave us the address for the place, and it was an apartment complex. And then they gave us the apartment number, and I'm like, oh my God. Sure enough, that was my family member's place. And usually when we get calls like these, the officers are understanding, you know, we don't have to go to the call, we don't have to respond. My family member, you know, ended up being arrested, and then they were looking for the other suspect, which was also my family member, and she went on the run for like a day or two, and I knew they were looking for her, so I called my sergeant and my fellow officers, and I told them exactly where she was hiding at, and they went and arrested her too. So until this day, they rub it in my face. They tell me, you know, what a family member, you shouldn't do that to family members, but it's my job, and it was their decision to, you know, be involved in that fight, so.
If you would like to know more about our show, visit us on the web at channel1yuma.com or write to us at Channel 1 Yuma, P.O. Box 2708, Yuma, Arizona 85366.